Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 8 Plus 1 The Classroom. My name is Charles Nzali. Today, I have one of the first friends I've made in America with me, uh, Miss Dominique Liddell. I went to college with Miss Dominique. Great friend, great human being, a mother. The reason I have Dominique here with me today is that Dominique is a mother of a child with special need, and many a times with people who have children with special needs, right? We just look at them. We don't know what it's like in the day to day running, in the day to day raising a child with special need. I mean, it's a very sensitive topic. Uh, Hopefully, we can learn from this and get to understand your struggles as a, you know what I mean, as a mother of that special kid that you have. Welcome to 8 Plus 1 The Classroom.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Miss Liddell, aka Dominique, aka,
Clown.
troublemaker.
Mm.
Can you let's start a little bit, right? Let's get back a little bit, right? Uh Tell us a little bit about your childhood days, like, growing up in Kansas City, all from middle school, high school, and then JUCO, where you met me at. How was those days like you as a child growing up?
Um, I would say my childhood, I think, was pretty great. I was raised by a single mom, and it was just me and my brother, and we had a great childhood. She did what she could for us, so that's kind of where I get like my mother and from is her because I saw her like struggle sometimes, but she was very strong, and she did try to do the best for us. And so I definitely pull from her when it comes to mothering. And as far as like school, I went to Eugene Wares Elementary. I'm KCK born and raised. Elementary was fun. I think as I started to get older, of course, hitting puberty and all that, that teenage years, just dealing with like self esteem. And now that I'm looking back, anxiety. I definitely had a lot of anxiety. But I didn't know what to call it back then because back then it was just like you just keep going. So, but teenage years were a little hard just because I wasn't like as confident in myself as I am now. And even when I started going to Coffeeville, I had gotten a lot better in my confidence. So, yeah, I would definitely say I feel like my best year started when I got to Coffeeville because I fully threw myself into music because that's what I did. I sang. So that's what I threw myself into. So that's when I started to become confident in accepting who I was.
Looking back, do you kind of figure out what that anxiety will come from?
Um, it's so funny because me and my brother talk about this all the time. I think it's just that need to be accepted. So when you want to be accepted, you're gonna do and change and all of that to be accepted and try to be that perfect person and things like that. So even now and as an adult, even though I recognize like, oh, that's a form of anxiety, like I still battle with like maybe feeling not good enough and feeling inadequate because I went to high school at Sumner Academy. So that in our neighborhood, that's the school that was like the top school because it was like a college preparatory school. And so you had to be the best if you went there. And
Hmm.
so that type of pressure in me, I was like, I just want to be a kid. I just want to hang out. I didn't want to really study and things like that. I didn't get bad grades, but I still wanted to have fun. And school wasn't like my main focus. But at a school like that, it had to be. So just trying to battle that and be like, well, I can't be a normal kid. But when you look at other people and you're like, well, they're up here and you can't be down here, so then you are trying to like be the best and fit into this crowd or fit into these people and things like that.
And what, if you don't mind me asking, what was your what is the result of the confidence, self-confidence issues that you were having?
I would say just like I would like depression was is a big one. So
Mhm.
like me, since I am like hard on myself, that's why I'm like I'm so glad it's gotten better. It's gotten better now and as an adult, but I like self isolate. So I'll go through something by myself and I'll be sad and people might notice it and be like, "Oh, her mood is off" and things like that. But I won't openly be like, "Okay, this is what's wrong with me," or "This is what I'm dealing with." So I think that's a big part of, and I'm still working on that as well. It's like when I do get in those moments of feeling like I'm inadequate and things like that and having that type of anxiety, then my mood shifts and it changes and I will just like self isolate, which is not always the best sometimes. Like you do need time to like get away and take a second, but you also sometimes you do need like a support, your support team to like help you through certain things.
You were not confident of yourself because you were always depressed and stuff. So you thought people would see that when they see you, when they're looking at you, they're seeing your pain, they're seeing your anxiety, they're seeing everything that you're going through. So it just took away your confidence.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. And you don't and so then you try to like fake it till you make it. So then you got to be the I was the I wouldn't say super loud, but I was the loud one. I was the one that the attention or I was trying to be funny and things like that because I was trying to hide like who I truly was or wanted to be.
Have you ever gotten to the root of that?
No, I would say I don't think I've ever really thought deep into it. I think once I did have my daughter, my mindset was okay, I know I dealt with these things when I was younger and things like that. So it was like you don't want to pass that on to somebody and you want to make sure like they're okay with who they are and you don't want them to like everybody has anxiety, everybody has their moments where they do not have the greatest self-esteem, but I want to be able to provide her with the tools to be like, okay, when you are feeling this way, this is what you can do, or provide her with good tools. And I would say now as an adult, I've tried to find good tools and I continue to search for good tools to like help with that.
Hmm.
But I would say I to just sit down and be like where this comes from. No. I know I need to work on this and I don't want my daughter to feel this way, and if she does feel this way, then I want to be able to properly
Hmm.
prepare her for this. So I'm a person of okay, what can I do, or this is what I need to do to make this better and things like that.
Some of the things we go through growing up, right? When we get older and we look back on those things, right? And we're like, we put all this pressure on ourselves, thinking that we were so insufficient, right? And you look back and then you're like, damn, I was doing some great things.
Right.
You went to some academy, you know what I mean? You went to a college preparatory school. You were smart as hell. You were like next level type of smartness, you know what I mean? Because I shared school with you, I went to class with you.
Yeah.
And you look back at those things, you're like, if I had just enjoyed that moment a little
Yeah.
more, real, you know what I mean?
And
Not putting that
celebrated
much
that.
pressure
Yeah.
on me, knowing that the average Joe can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you have that all that pressure on you to the point where you're not even enjoying those things. It can be intense. It can be intense. It can definitely be intense. You know, I know how that goes. Uh, let's 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 uh let's talk about your baby girl here, right? So after college, you have a baby, and when did you find out that your baby had autism?
So a little bit before she was one. So when I went to UMKC after I graduated from Coffeeville, I got a job at a child care center,
Hmm.
and it was a lab school, and so they taught early childhood education, and I found that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I majored in, and being working at that school, I learned a lot, and I was like in the infant room. And when I would, think about like, okay, she should be doing these things at, certain months. And if she's not doing this by this month, then we need to worry. So a little bit before she turned 1, I kind of noticed she didn't really babble. Babies babble. It might not be clear words, but they babble.
Mhm.
She didn't really do that. And so when we went to her doctor's appointment, I just said, hey, this makes me a little nervous. And her doctor was like, okay, let's wait till she turns 1. Let's let her get a little older and we'll see. And we did that. And she still wasn't talking, trying to say words like even mama. She didn't say that. Or daddy. She didn't say that. And so then her pediatrician was like, well, I'm going to refer you to infant toddler services and they can help her with her speech. So then we started that process. So she used to get speech therapy every other week. And they would come to the house and they would just give me good strategies and they would even work on behaviors and things like that. And we did that for about, I would say about a year.
Mhm.
And then her speech therapist, who was amazing, she she was like, I want to test her on something. And I was like, okay, like, what do you want to test her? And she was like, it's a series of questions. And she was like, because I'm going to be honest with you, just by her behaviors and things that she does, she may have autism. And I was like, okay. And at the time, when you hear autism, you think of people who are like lower on the spectrum who
Mhm.
can't really function.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of idea I had in my head. And I'm like, okay, so I'm like freaking out. And she asked me a series of questions. It was about her language, or does she do certain things over and over, and just different things like that. And once she tallied up her scores, she was like, okay, I want to get her evaluated. So after she turned 2, we went to KU Med and we got her evaluated. And they asked a series of questions. They played with her and they watched her and things like that. And they were like, she was like in between. And everybody, like even the speech therapist was like, I don't know. Because especially with her, and even now when people look at her, they're like, really? She has autism? Like what? And it's like, yeah, it's just not, she's just a high functioning person,
Mhm.
basically. So after she got evaluated, they were just like, well, we really can't give you an answer. Like, we don't know. Like, we really can't give you an answer. So we want you to go through this 6-week behavioral clinic. And so we did that for 6 weeks. And after that 6-week period, the psychologist was like, we're going to go ahead and say she has autism. So she told me that, and they were just like, so now we're going to try to get her in school, get her in preschool to get her some help. Because especially for her language was very delayed at that point. Like she barely talked. She would make noises, like she did babble a little more, but she should have been forming some kind of words and
Mhm.
sentences, which she didn't do. And so she got into preschool and they did, it was a 6-week evaluation as well, just to see what needs she might need. And
Mhm.
especially in our district, because of the amount of kids they serve, they
Mhm.
try to enroll the children who have the most needs. So they just wanted to watch her and see like what she actually needed. And then by her 3rd birthday, they went ahead and got her in preschool, and she started there, and that was great. Having a great team is really the biggest for this.
Having gone through all of that process, right? That found out that to find out that she has autism, right? Did that change anything after finding that out?
It changed a lot because we started to, because at the time we still lived with my mom, and like we started to think about just different things that she would do. So like when she gets overwhelmed, when she was a baby, she used to just fall asleep. She hated big groups, but instead of like crying, she just would go to sleep. Like literally her first birthday, she slept the entire time because she was just overwhelmed and it was just too much going on. And we started to like notice just those little things of like, oh, that makes sense why she does this, or just different things like that. So it definitely changed in that way of the mindset of it kind of made everything click, because when kids do certain things like that, you don't
No.
automatically be like, oh, something's wrong with him.
Hmm.
Just like, oh, they're being a 1 year old, they're being a 2 year old. That's what I was saying. She's two, is what it is, kind of thing. But the dots definitely started to connect after we found that out.
Wow. Wow. What are some of the biggest challenges you face with having a child with autism?
I would say a few challenges. I think the biggest one that I always kind of deal with is just parenting, period. Because parenting itself is hard. Like, it's already hard.
Hmm.
And so then when you have a child who has a special need, it kind of amplifies that. So I would always used to tell, when we were in therapy, I would always used to tell her therapist, well, I want to come home because I teach kids all day. So I want to come home and I just want to be mommy. Like, I
Hmm.
just want to be mommy. I want to have fun with her. I don't want to have to be that teacher that I've been all day, because I just want to be a mommy to my kid and love on my kid.
Hmm.
And the therapist was like, I hear you, but you still are her teacher. Like, you do teach her things, and you just have to think about the different strategies that you use. You're still building a bond with her. And that was like my biggest fear, is like, she's just going to see me as this person who's always trying to get her to work on this and do that, and not really building that bond. But I think that's the biggest thing, of like just remembering, like, you're still building a bond, even when she's crying and screaming screaming at you and think you're the worst person right now. You're still building a bond, because you're helping her navigate through this world that may not understand her. Because especially for her, children in general, sometimes they think very logic. So if you say, I have to go over here and I have to do this and stop doing this, I just have an issue with that, because you just want me to stop what I'm focused on.
Hmm.
And they don't see that, oh, well, we're gonna go play with something else, or
Hmm.
we're going to the store, we're going to your favorite place. It was just, I'm playing with these blocks right now, you want me to stop that, and I'm upset. And like, in children who have autism, that logic is a big thing. Like, they just see things as they are.
Hmm.
And my daughter, she definitely, she's gotten a lot better, but she had a big difficulty with transitioning to the next thing. And so she just had to, if she's focused on something, I'm gonna be focused on this. And trying to get her to move on was a struggle. And so that would that's many of meltdowns of 20 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour of meltdowns. And in those moments, you want to be like, especially just like old school parenting, you want to just be kind of be like, girl, come on, let's go.
Hmm.
But you have to switch that and be like, no, she's thinking of it this way. So you have to have a lot of patience and be like, well, I'm going to let you scream because you're screaming. So even if I try to talk to you, you're not going to hear me.
Hmm.
Just like when I'm upset as an adult, if I don't want to listen to somebody, I'm not going to listen to them. I just want to be upset in that moment. So just that, definitely the trying to parent her is a big difficulty. And then another difficulty I would say is just her navigating throughout the world, because she
Hmm.
used to have a big problem with playing with her peers and trying to like insert herself, or
Hmm.
she would just want to play by herself and she wouldn't want to play with anybody. And I think that's a big difficulty for me, because sometimes I want to shield her, especially from, because kids don't understand that, oh, she has autism. Like, they don't understand that. So certain things, she used to, when her feelings would get hurt, she would immediately just cry and shut down. Like, she wouldn't try to like problem solve, she wouldn't want to do that. She would just cry and shut down. And as a mommy, I would be like, oh no, like, you just hurt my baby, like, I'm upset, like.
Hmm.
And I had to like switch that mindset as well, because it's like, no, you have to teach her how to stand up for herself, or talk to her peer and let them know. Like even when she wanted to play with kids, she wouldn't walk up and be like, play.
Mm-hmm.
She just stands off to the side, but then she would get frustrated when they wouldn't like play with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to be like, baby, you have to tell them you want to play. So you just have to say, play.
Mm-hmm.
And now she has more words. So now she can say, can I play? But just that of navigating through the world, because not everybody understands her. And sometimes it can be deemed as, especially people who don't really understand autism, sometimes it can be like, oh, she's just being bad and she's just doing what she want to do. And it's like, no, in her little mind, the way she's thinking about it, she's not intentionally being bad. Like she's not intentionally being rude. Because my daughter, she loves hugs, but she wants to initiate it. She's not a big give me a hug. Because sometimes she's like, no, I'm okay. Like, don't touch me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. And sometimes people would take that as, oh, she being sometime here, she's being rude. And it's like, she just respect her space. She let her come to you.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, just, yeah, navigating through the world is just very hard because not only do you have to explain some things to adults, you also have to try to explain that to children. But then when children, children don't really understand that. So it's like, okay, if I'm telling you another adult,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this is what she has. And so this is why she's being the way she is.
Mm-hmm.
I need you then. Sometimes you want to be like, I need you to help your child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you're supposed to do is help your child accept everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that's very hard.
Yeah.
Because I want to fight her battles all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I've had to like step back and be like, no, I gotta let her get through this, especially now that she's like 6.
Mm-hmm.
I have to.
You know, having a kid with special needs, right? It's a blessing because every child is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It also comes with a lot of learning
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of searching and finding and acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes family members and people around, they don't make that too easy for us. Simply because of some of the comments they make, their children trying to be normal children around these children, around our kids, and not knowing that uh, these kids have some type of special need, right? They don't understand it as children. Hell, even sometimes the adult don't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
right? The little comments they make around people's children can be very hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
Can be very, very hurtful. If you have a child, because I'm saying this because of my daughter, right? She's not diagnosed yet. The process that you said is a really long
Mm-hmm.
process, right? We still we still have that at the back of our mind that that might be a thing. You know what I mean? We've not gone through. I'm very emotional right now talking to you about this. We've not gone through the whole process yet, right? But sometimes people want her to be a certain way, and she does not want to be a certain way, right? And they have comments that they make. They say things that are very hurtful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing that the things that they're saying are very. I don't know if they know or it's just sheer ignorance. You know, but it comes with it. It comes with so much pain sometimes. These things that people say, and people just need to learn how to talk about other people's children and how to be around other people's children and also talk to their children about what they say around other people's
Most
children.
definitely.
You know what I mean? Because it's it hurts, you know. It really does hurt. It
Yeah.
it does. It does. I be ready to fight.
Yeah. Me too. I'm very, yeah, because as a parent anyway, you are your child's. We always in our field in early childhood education, we're taught that the parent is the child's first teacher.
Hmm.
And as a teacher, you're supposed to respect that. So that's why with me, it gets hard because it's like you coming at her like this. Now you coming at me, and I immediately go, you're challenging my parenting, and you're trying to say I'm a bad parent because I let her do certain things. But one thing that, especially when she was diagnosed, I told myself, I was like, I'm going to try very hard to let her be who she wants to be. Like, my kid is wild and loud and crazy. And when she was younger, I encouraged that. And I was like, that's fine. Be who you want to be. And like, I don't shy away from telling her that she has autism. I mean, I don't make it, I don't make it into a negative thing. I
Hmm.
do make it into a very positive thing. April is autism, the month of Autism Month.
Hmm.
We celebrate that. Like, she knows when that month comes, we're wearing blue because that's the color for it,
Hmm.
and most than likely she's gonna get a cake for it. Like that, we celebrate those things, and I've always tried to celebrate her small achievements, so she knows, like, yeah, I am great. Like, yeah, I may have some difficulties, but I'm great because I'm still in the game. Like, I'm still trying and actively trying. And especially for my daughter, she loves to learn.
What do you wish the future to be like for her?
I just want, ugh, okay, try not to get emotional, but for her, I want her continue. She has this light about her.
Hmm.
Like, every school she's gone to, when I walk in the school, it was like, "Are you Penelope's mom?" And I'm like, yes, because when everybody knows a kid, it's like, okay, what have you been doing at
Yeah.
this school?
Yeah.
Have you been acting up? But she has such a light about her that gravitates people towards her. And I never want that to dim, because I
Hmm.
feel like in the future, especially when she gets older and as an adult, that's going to be it's going to be amazing.
Hmm.
Like, even now at the school that she's at, the principal knows her. Every other teacher knows her. And people act like she's a person that people actively want to help, and they just love and want
Hmm.
to take care of. And I just, as an adult, I just want that. I want that to stay, because I
Hmm.
feel like it's going to be very, very powerful. Like, even now, on rough days, she'll be like, "Are you okay, mommy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks for asking." Like, well, thank you. And for her, that's like big, because she didn't used to couldn't talk. Like, she couldn't talk,
Hmm.
Um, she's very empathetic. And I just think that's gonna, like, in the future, people are gonna want to be around her. And I feel like she's gonna touch so many people's lives.
Hmm.
And so that, I just do not, and I try really hard. I don't want that light to dim. That's why I've kind of tried to take a step back from trying to fight her battles sometimes, because it's like, no, she's got to learn to speak up for herself.
Hmm.
But I just, that little light in her, because I'm not gonna say I didn't used to be like that, but I don't know, it's just something about her
Hmm.
that every people gravitate towards. And I'm always like, okay, I guess. And sometimes it works in her favors, because sometimes people be like, oh, she's so cute, so I'm gonna just let her do what she wants to do. And it's like, no, you can't do that either.
Hmm.
But I think as she becomes an adult, her just being so empathetic and wanting to be around people and wanting to love people, and I just think it's gonna be so great for her. And I'm excited, and I can't wait to see, like, just the different things that she's gonna do, because I know she's gonna do a lot of great things. I already know that now, because she's doing great things now.
Hmm.
So yeah, her little light, I just don't want it to dim.
There's a mother who probably just found out whose kid is just got diagnosed with autism, right? What would you tell that mother?
The first thing I would tell her is it's not your fault. They don't know how kids get autism.
Mhm.
Like, it's not your fault. You can run down the list of things that might have happened during pregnancy or even as them as a baby. It is not your fault. And your child definitely needs you. They need you, and you're going to have to be your child's biggest advocate. And sometimes that's very hard because that means you're going to go up against family members. That means you're going to go up against friends. And that means you're going to have to be involved in school. Like, you're going to have to be very hands on. But it's very hard, but it's going to show your strength, and it's going to show that you were built for this. Like, this is what, and that's just kind of how I think about it, because I'm like, oh, man, like, you know,
Mhm.
God blessed me with this child because it's a purpose for this. Like, it's just not, it wasn't, it's a purpose for me to have a child with autism. And that's why I celebrate every little achievement, because those small victories make you look back. Like, my daughter didn't used to say mama.
Mhm.
And every day now I get to hear, "Mommy, look at this, mommy. I love you, mommy." Like, I get to hear that now because of all the work. And it isn't an easy road. And I will say, a support system, anybody, even if it's just your therapy, like putting a child in therapy,
Mhm.
even just that, having somebody to support you is the biggest thing. Because sometimes you're going to have your bad days, because we've had many of bad days where she's had to, I just like, okay, you just go in your room and you cry and you do what you got to do. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to go sit over here in this little corner. We're just going to have our feelings and we'll come back together, because it is hard. It's very hard when you have a child that's screaming at you. And for a while, my daughter did not talk. So I couldn't tell you what was wrong. And she couldn't explain it. So that's making her even more frustrated. It's just keep working at it. Every little victory is a huge victory. And the biggest thing, you're built for this and you got this. And tune out all the negativity, even though it's hard. But
What did you learn about yourself since you've raising this child?
I would say the biggest thing that I've learned is that education and early childhood education is definitely my field. That's where I need to be. That's where I want um, to be, because everything that I did at work, I have to do at home. So it's just constantly practicing. And the other thing I would say I learned is I try to shy away from it, but I am very big, especially for mothers, but parents in general. I think in the near future, I'm going to try to be involved or like something with parents and encouraging parents, because you can have anybody. I have a great support system and they can tell me till they're blue in the face that I'm a good mom. But sometimes you're like, well, you didn't have a kid who has these
Mhm.
difficulties. So you really don't kind of understand what I'm going through.
Mhm.
And I think it's very important to surround yourself, like be involved with people who definitely kind of go through those exact same struggles, because it is good to, not every child's the same, but it's always good to bounce ideas
Mhm.
off of people. And it's also good for somebody to look at you who has a child who may have the same characteristics and things like that, and you look at them and you're like, okay, so they had their moment where they might have screamed when they shouldn't have, or,
Mhm.
and I think that's just parent, like being involved with parents in general, just encouraging people and saying like, this is gonna happen, or yeah, you're gonna go through this, but you got this, you're amazing. And that's why I try, like, with anybody I'm friends with who has kids, I'm like, you're doing a great job. And
Mhm.
I've had friends who are about to have babies and they're like, tell me about, and I'm like, I can't tell you about parenting because every child is different. And what you decide to do with your child, as long as you love them and take care of them to the best of your ability, you got this. Make it up as you go. I can give you advice, but you don't know until you get with your child and you know what beliefs and things you want to instill in your child. And it's like, there is no handbook for this.
Yeah,
There's no handbook for parenting.
yeah, yeah. I wish there is a handbook that I could pick up and read. But at the same time, you have people with multiple children will tell you every kid is different. You have to parent every kid differently, and I'm like, But I know, I know you are doing a great job. How I know? I just know.
Thank you.
I just know, cause just the fact that you are actively involved in sorting out what she needs, her needs, you kind of have a lot of information already. You have an advantage because your line of work gives you that access to information, and you went to school for this, so that kind of already put you in a position where you're equipped with more information than the person who's not doing what you do, and that already puts you in a great, gives you a kind of an advantage. And so you're built for this. You're built for this. It's gonna be dark days because I'm preaching to the choir. You know this way more than I can ever know this. You know what I mean? And just just the whole thing, sitting here listening to you speak about these struggles and what you're trying to do, how much effort you're putting in helping your daughter, especially you have to be a mom, you have to be a teacher continuously. It's not, there's no break in being a teacher, and you're, from what I get from you, you're afraid of your daughter looking at you more like a teacher, not a mommy. You know what I mean? Just being being very conscious of that alone, it tells me how much attention to detail you're putting into this, and it's refreshing. It's very refreshing. It's very. I commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm sure your daughter looks at you and says, that's that guy. Like, that's how she looks at you.
Hopefully
I
she
already know.
does.
She does.
Hopefully she does,
She
because
does.
I my pops was that guy. You know what I mean? He's not here. I can't pick up my phone and call him and be like, "Hey, how do we do this?" He's dead and gone, right? So now I don't look at myself as that guy because I'm not even half of what my daddy was. You know what I mean? And and I know your daughter looks at you and be like, "Oh, that's my mommy. My mommy's cool. You know, my mommy's that's my mommy. She's fly. She's smart. She's dope. She got my back. Most importantly, before every other thing, she'll ride for me. You know, which is big. You know,
Yeah.
which that's the it. That's the thing. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just wish the world would be a place where we can all coexist in our differences, right? Be it medical, race, religion, our sexuality, everything. Just however different we are. That's what makes this thing called life. That's what makes it interesting. You know what I mean? We are all very different. We have different shapes, forms, sizes, color, creed, religion, race, however you think about it. Psychologically, we are different. Some people overthink stuff. Some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are mentally strong. Some people are not mentally strong. Some people are very emotional. Other people are not. It's okay. It's very okay to be all of these things. But sometimes it's easier said than done in society. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of worries people a lot. It worries people a lot, especially if you're a parent of just a normal child. And not to say your child is not normal,
Yeah.
but
Just like the average child.
the
Yeah.
average child, if you're a parent of that, you already worried to death. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine what it feels like for someone who has a child with a disability. I can only imagine how that feels.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And life can be it's all about kind of like it's about what you make it, because once you learn your child, you learn what your child likes, you learn the environments that your child can tolerate, and you like, you know, the cutoffs, you know, the triggers. Once you learn that, you can navigate. Like literally this past December for her birthday, she went to Disney World. If this was years ago, I would have been taking her to Disney World because of the crowd and she gets overwhelmed. But she loves the princesses. She loves all of that. So this was a trip for her. And she did amazing. She was just as happy as she wanted to be. This was her first plane ride. And I was like, ooh, we're going to be stuck on this plane for 3 hours. I don't know how this is going to go. She was so excited. She was like, Mommy, look, the world. I see the world. And I'm like, yes, like, yes. She was excited about that. We were out there. We had fun. We had an amazing time. And then our flight got canceled coming home. So we had to drive 19 hours. And she was amazing the entire time. And it's like, I could have looked at wanting to go to Disney World and say, nah, she's autistic, like she doesn't like big crowds. I could have let that stop me. And in the past, I probably would have been like, no, we're not going there. She don't like big crowds. I'm not even going to fool with it. I don't want to deal with the fallout. None of that. And if I had have done that, we would have missed out on the best
yes,
experience. Like
yeah,
she was just so grateful and she was so excited. Like every day, she was like, Mommy, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it was like, oh yeah. Like I want to put that smile on your face every day. And you have to just, once you, because it takes practice and it takes work and it's still constant work, because you might go somewhere and it's places here we go that she's like, we
no,
let's not like, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, we won't do that again. Like you can't be scared to take that risk, even if you know, like sometimes you do have to push them out because they'll surprise you. Like even with her going to school, I didn't want her to go to preschool. I was like, nope, she don't like big groups, being in a classroom of 20. No, it's not gonna work. I'm telling you now, it's not gonna work. And she just soared. The girl loves to learn. Like that's just, she loves to learn. And it was like if I had said, no, I think we won't try it, she would have missed out on so much. And the advantage she has now, she wouldn't have had that.
yeah,
And like even now, her principal at her school calls her preschool principal. Like they still connect and they talk and they say, hey, what strategies did you use and things like that. And I think that's very important too for parents as well. Like you have to be active in the child's school, like point blank, period. No, you don't want to have to take off work to go up
you didn't
there,
do this.
but they need to see, they need to see your face because it helps. And also you being active learn makes you learn like, oh, these people are for real about my kid, because this is her, she's about to end her first year of kindergarten, and I was shaking in my boots about her going to another school. Like, and when I had a talk with the principal, she called me and she was like, it was over the summer because I got to go to summer school, and she called me and she was like, I wanted to call you to see what strategies you use. She's like, but I also want to let you know I did call her old principal and I talked to her old speech therapist. And I was like, oh, she for real. She's serious. And I was like, well, the things that they said were the same. And then, like, just going in for meetings and reaching out and talking, like, you can tell that they care. And sometimes, you know, it makes a difference because you know the parent is actively trying. Sometimes if you don't really try, they won't really go the extra mile. They won't really try sometimes. Sometimes they just won't. But if they know that you're trying and you're trying to work with them, it may be hard sometimes because you don't always want to hear maybe quote unquote bad things about your child. But it helps to just physically be in that school because also you get to see like, oh, these people are for real about my child. Like and it makes you, because anytime you send your kid off, you nervous.
Hmm.
This could happen. This could happen. Like it's shootings going on in schools. Like
Yeah.
all that stuff
Tough.
is
Yeah.
running through your mind, and it helps when you send your kid to a place where you like, oh, they got her.
They got
They
my
got her.
child's back.
Yeah.
They got me back. And man, it's it's a lot. It's a lot. And I just want to commend you for just having the, you know what I mean, the courage to just even sit here and talk about this. You know, my little platform. You know, people are going to listen to this. People are going to listen to this, and they're going to find, even if you don't have a child that has autism, right? You're going to understand how to deal with somebody else's child when you do see one, especially when it comes to the comments. You know, keep your ignorant comments to yourselves, man, because those comments are very hurtful. Those things are very hurtful. Don't be saying things about people's children. It's always family. Trust me. It's always the people that you love, the people that you have to be around. They have the comments, and those comments are hurtful. Especially as a young parent, you start questioning your parenting ability.
Yeah. Quickly.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You start questioning everything you know. You start questioning a lot of things.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I had to do, I think that I have to constantly do, especially with like family and adults around, I have to like think about how they were raised. And it's like those things, you just have to, I've definitely had to learn like not to, because I used to be super defensive all the time. I'm going to be honest, super defensive. So it's like, but I learned to like take that wall down. And no, I don't have to walk in a room and say, this is my daughter, Penelope Rose. She has autism. I don't have to walk in a room and do that. But I did have to like present myself in a way that's open, and even in those times of like, why did you just say that? um I literally have to just be like, no, like this is why she's acting this way, or this thing, or she has difficulties with transitions, so that's why she's upset, she has to go over here, or she doesn't like big groups, that's why she's upset. Because it's been a lot of events I've had to be like, especially like family and friends, I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't come. Like, that's going to be a lot for her. Or if we do come, we got like a 10-minute limit, then we're going to have to go. But I've tried very hard to start presenting myself in a very open way. And as I am, because I think of it as a teaching moment for her as well.
Hmm.
Because like it hurts me to see her like shut down with her peers. And it's like, well, if she sees me shut down with our family members and peers and things like that, what am I teaching her? Like she gonna be like, well, that's how we react, you know? So I try to think of it as like a modeling tool. Like I should not have to sit and talk to an adult and say, no, like this is the way. I shouldn't, but it's just like, this is just what we're gonna do. It's just gonna be a teaching moment. And for her, she can see like, oh, okay, I can stand up for myself, or if something hurts me, I could do it in a way that's not coming off as disrespectful or defensive. And then also for the other person, I've had moments where people say things and are like, ooh, like they kind of catch it.
Hmm.
And then after I'm like, when I try to like work through it, then they're like, oh, okay. So then they're better. Like they try to be better. And I know not every person is going to change, want to change their ways, but I just try to always remember like I'm modeling for her how to interact with her peers and problem solve with her peers. I just try to like, and it's sometimes it's hard because literally, and I will very transparent, literally a few months ago, I had to get into it with her after school care because they put her in a bad situation. And when I walked in the building, I was like, oh no. And she saw mommy get very upset. And she was like in front of me and she was like, mommy, let's go. And she would look at them and go, move, like get away from my mommy. And like when I got home, I was like, I was mama bear and I wasn't trying to be like that in front of her, but they needed to be told about themselves. But it's hard, but just trying to break that wall and just be like, okay, I'm going to handle this in a situation that I would hope that when she gets older,
She
this
can
is how
come up
she's
with
going
it.
to handle
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Or you're going to be fighting people every day.
yes. It's it's just refreshing sitting here. You know what I mean, and listening to you speak. And kind of threw alley hoop in there. Some stuff that I had in my chest that I had to get out for people in these damn comments, man. But I appreciate you. Taking time out of your evening. Taking time away from Penelope Rose to come here and what I mean, spend some time here just teaching. This is the teacherless classroom is what I call this platform. People like you who come here and share these moments that we can't learn these things from no classroom. You know what I mean? It could in this classroom that has a chalkboard and stuff going on without a teacher, we can come here and share these moments so other people can learn from it. This is why we have 8+1 the classroom this moment right here, because it's no school that's going to teach us these things. I mean, the theory is there. You can go to school and they tell you
Right.
A, B, C, D, E. Miss Mike Upping can tell us everything we need to know. But when it comes to when it's actually happening, we can't get grasp of it. All the theory we learn in school is gone. You know what I mean? So people like you coming in here and sharing your stories, and it makes this it makes me appreciate every single thing of what we as a community are doing here, because it's not just me by myself. I, I'm not that wise. I can't speak on a child that has autism. I might suspect that mine has it, but it's not diagnosed yet. You see what I'm saying? So I can smartly speak on it like you were speaking on it. No way. The next person that comes here and speak, the other person that comes in and speak about drug addiction. I've never had a drug addiction, but they can sit here and teach and say these things in this teacherless classroom of ours. You know what I mean? I'm just the class prefect. I'm not the teacher. I'm the guy that's gonna snitch when we do find the teacher. I'm like, this person said this. This other person said this. She came in late. She said she was coming and she never came. You know what I mean? I'm that guy. I'm just the class prefect, but I'm not the teacher. The teacher is you people who come here who are also learning as you share with us. So this is why this is the 8+1, the classroom without a teacher. And I appreciate you for coming this evening and making it a possibility for people to also learn and see what is in that world, what's that place like. I appreciate you big time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I was super nervous, but yeah.
You were nervous
Thank
about
you.
what?
Yeah. I don't really talk like this. Like I have this, but I don't share it. That's why I was like, no, I need to do it and like because I definitely wanted somebody to get something out of it. Like when we talked about it, definitely. And I was like, no, you gotta this is the time to do that. And so, no, I appreciate you because you did kind of like give me that push because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't tell him no. Like, I'm going to do
Yeah, you
it.
know,
So,
that's what I do.
yeah.
Some of my friends, I have to bully you people into to doing interviews around here, because otherwise you have all excuses why you don't have to do these interviews. So hey, if I had to message you 54 times, I might have to message you 74 times. But guess what? You're gonna have to come and sit in this classroom. Shit. Thank you.